Welcome to Make Up or Break Up with Judith Jameson of judithjameson.org. That is both the Facebook page and the web. Whoa, we're working on short margins this morning.
What were you yelling too much or what?
No, I just moved the mic and it cut out a little bit. But so judithjameson.org, that's the Facebook page and the web page. You go to the Facebook page for past episodes of Make Up or Break Up.
That's right. Who doesn't want to watch those?
That's right. And you go to the website to get contact information, information about your services, information about events coming up.
That's right.
Yeah.
My eyes keep tearing up. I think it's
What's going on?
Allergy season already.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
When is it not allergy season?
I know. Well, it used to be like, I used to get it like in April or May, and then I'd get it in September, but now, I don't know, I was like, stop. Things are in the air, Lou. Things are in the air. Things are happening.
Yeah, don't I know it? Yeah.
Ouch. Let's pull this thing. So anyway, welcome to our show, Make Up or Break Up. It's basically, at the end of the day, that's really what we're talking about. Are you going to work on your relationship?
Yeah.
Is there hope for it? Or if not, if you need to break up, are you needing that reality? Is it at a point where it's like, a street named after them? At a certain point, you can only be a one-way. There can only be a one-way street for so long, right?
I was going to say, are the people who get to make that choice the lucky ones or the unlucky ones?
Yeah, I know, right?
Because not everybody gets the choice.
Right. So if you're in a relationship, whether you're married or a long-term relationship, if you're in a committed relationship, not committed to the to the loony bin, but if you're in a committed relationship and it's a one-way street with your partner, meaning that your partner, it's all about them.
Yes.
It's their way or the highway.
Yes.
Check.
Check.
If you're with someone that never seems to validate your feelings when you speak up, that's called a one-way street. Mm-hmm. And the definition of a relationship is two people.
You know what the telltale sign of that is? The one definitive sign of that is?
Of a one-way relationship. Okay.
I'll put this up there. You dispute it. And everyone will dispute it because everyone's got their own one. The one telltale sign is you have a problem and you bring it to them and it turns out to be your fault.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's never they're never part of it.
Right.
And at the end of the day...
It wasn't what they did. It was you made them do it.
Right.
For whatever reason.
So in a healthy relationship, and again, people are probably rolling their eyes going, well, this is like ridiculous. This is like, idealistic here. But at the very core of a healthy relationship, and a relationship worth fighting for, I might add, right? A relationship worth fighting for and staying in is that you have two people who come together. So relation means interaction.
Right.
So last night I'm leading a book group down in Lexington this summer. And I didn't bring the book in, I'll bring it in another week. But the name of the book is great. It pretty much says what it's going to be about. So it's 10 things that I'll never do again. And so each chapter is...
10 relationship things?
Yep, all within relationships. And it can be work relationships and it can be personal relationships. Sure. And the basis of it is to teach us to say to ourselves or to an accountability partner, like a good friend who you trust will give you good feedback, 10 things that you're going to say to yourself, I'm never going to do that again. But the problem is when you start dating again, you will do that again. And you need to remind yourself of what these 10 things are.
Well, you don't recognize what you're doing.
Well, you
don't see it a lot quite often.
Well, okay. All right. Well, that's great. So chapter 6 or 7, I think, we're on. We just did 9 and 10 last night. A chapter a couple of weeks ago was Never Again.
Never will I ever.
Right. Never will I ever. Basically, buy something without, buy into something without doing some investigation. So in other words, they gave a great example of when we buy a car. If you're going to buy a car, especially if it's a used car, you're theoretically going to look at multiple cars.
Yep.
You're going to take them each to a mechanic if you're interested in those particular ones.
Right.
You're doing what it's called, the name of that chapter is Never Again Will I Not Do Due Diligence.
Due diligence, right.
And due diligence means, and this is the way I broke it down, even though they didn't talk about this, you don't just buy the first car that you look at. You don't buy the first house that you look at unless it gets a really good inspection, right? And it meets all the criteria that you're looking for. Mm-hmm. Most people look at multiple houses before they make a decision.
Are you equating a relationship to a car and a house? Is that what you're doing right now?
I am.
Yeah, okay.
So it's the same thing with a relationship.
Yeah.
If you're ready to start dating again, so I'm jumping from being in a committed relationship to looking for a partner. Right. It doesn't make sense to go out, have it, I don't care if you've been divorced or single from dating for 2 months or 2 years or 10 years. It does not make sense to glom onto and focus only on the first person that comes into your path as another single person, whether it's a setup by a friend or it's a Match.com match. It does not make sense. And your due diligence is dating different people so that you have a better perspective and a better judgment zone, so you can say, if I hadn't dated 2 more people, I wouldn't have seen that guy number 2 has actually, I feel more comfortable with him, even though he has some different, hobbies.
Right.
I actually have a better connection. But if you are too afraid, first of all, if you're too afraid to date more than one person, you've got a bigger issue, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like
that's fear,
right?
More
it's fear,
than it's
right?
More than it's annoyance,
right? But the whole premise is doing due diligence. So when you do end up landing with one person after you've ferreted, right? You vetted the other people,
right?
You dated multiple people, you found your date worth keeping. Then you're going to do your due diligence. It's okay to be asking questions about their past. It's okay to have them explain to you what went wrong in their last relationship. It's okay to ask your good friends who you trust to ask them questions, to gently sort of so where are you from? Lou said, you grew up in Maryland. Whereabouts? I used to vacation in Baltimore, which probably isn't the place you'd vacation, but I always forget. The Outer Banks, right? Isn't it?
Isn't Baltimore?
Yeah. So, no, not really. It's not a place you would really choose to vacation, but it seems to be an up-and-coming workplace, and it's cheaper than a lot of places, as are most places outside of New England and Massachusetts.
That's right.
So what we're talking about is due diligence.
Right.
And
shop around. Mm-hmm. My mama said, you better shop around.
Right. And it really makes sense.
Can I ask you a question that occurred to me early in this conversation? And you talk about you were talking about relationships.
2 people,
and you were saying this is probably Pollyanna, and you set up in a good relationship. What's your percentage? Do you think? How many good relationships are there out there?
I don't know because
I mean that's kind of define your terms, right? And you don't get enough inside relationships to really judge.
Well, unless you took a group of people and you went around trying to find couples, you could only make a statement about that group. The problem with trying to judge that is we can see actual numbers of marriages and divorces, right? Because it's all done through the court system, but we can't tell with general relationships.
Right.
Yeah. I think
because I'm scanning the roster of my friends and stuff, and I can pick out 2, 3, 4 couples that I think seem to have a really good relationship. I mean, again, you don't know what goes on,
right?
So you don't know, but I mean, I think it's rarer than most people,
right?
Think, because especially especially the second or third marriage or relationship, or getting to be our age, it's like there's just a lot of complications,
right? So I think one of the difficulties
because I think when you get together when you're younger, you have more ability to adapt.
You're a little more flexible.
Yeah, right. And so you guys can mold a relationship. It's a little bit more difficult in 40s and 50s.
Right.
You're not as flexible as you used to be.
And I think that when the reality is, economics change, real estate markets go up and down. It's the same thing with relationships and life in general, right? So you go from never sleeping together before you get married to everybody sleeping together before they get married to hooking up is now the big thing. It's like, when they go off to, when they're in high school and college, kids just feel like that's the norm. It's like not everybody's looking for, I'm going to, try to find, I'm not going to sleep around, but I might sleep with somebody when I am in a serious committed relationship. So it's hard. I think it becomes harder to navigate that and to really analyze, But I think it's safe to say that hooking up isn't working in terms of finding your Mr. Right or Mrs. Wonderful.
Because the thing is, I'm a bit of an idealist.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you were talking about, and I think those relationships are out there. But I look around, and my personal experience is maybe they're not around as much as I think they are.
Well, but don't forget the other thing.
Because you see a lot of quote unquote tolerance relationships.
Right.
You see it even outwardly, just in public, just in the scans you get. You see so much friction.
Right. So I think the reality is there are probably, if you were to actually break it down, my guess would be that there are more people that aren't really happy in their relationships. But it's kind of like Joan Rivers. I loved her saying that she said once in a stand-up routine where she said, some of her stuff was pretty spot on. Unbeknownst to any of us till later on that, her husband, Edward or whatever his name was, battled depression and took his life.
Yeah.
But she used to make a lot of her jokes were about relationships, and they were actually pretty funny, and I'm sure that most of them weren't actually about her husband. But she used to say, at a certain point, when you're married for as long as I am, she said, basically, yeah, I love him. I don't love him, but I love him.
Yeah.
And I used that line for a long time in my 20s and 30s. I thought it was hilarious. And there are a lot of people out there that...
You remember the old group?
Oh, you're cutting out.
I know.
Which is different than me saying, cut it out. Does that mean they can only hear me? That's not good. Yeah. What, can they hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Can they hear you?
I
can hear you now. Can you hear me now?
Right. Got all kinds of issues here. Gotta see if I can stay.
Nope. I don't hear you now.
You remember the old, it was part of a comedy bit, remember the Bickersons?
No.
You don't remember?
Nope. You're cutting in and out. Must be your wire.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to stabilize it.
Yeah. Okay. So you jump in and then I'll see if I can hear you. Relationships, I think, in general, there are many people that are in it for a lot of different reasons, whether they're afraid to go out on their own, they feel like I can't afford to be on my own, especially if it's a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad. If there's physical disabilities, they feel like they're going to be on subsidized housing or medical help from the state. So a lot of people are staying in relationships, but I'm not saying that they're the wrong reasons, but I am saying that there are a lot of people that stay in relationships for lack of a better word, it's easier for them, whether medically or physically or financially. And some people just emotionally don't actually feel that they could handle a breakup, especially the longer they've been in a relationship. It's dysfunctional, but it's their dysfunction. So it's their circus, not your circus, but it's what they're used to, and they feel that overall they can handle it. So, I think that there are many couples who are together. My guess is that there are many couples that are just, they live separate lives. They ignore the nasty comments that are coming from a spouse. They have a spouse that doesn't pitch in and help around the house or help with the kids. They've just resigned themselves to going along with that. I guess my question would be to turn it around when we're looking at relationships. And I don't know if that's what you already asked, Lou, but maybe I forget. What did you ask? How many couples are actually happy? Yeah, so I would guess that more people are not happy and not really loving their life with their partner and interacting. Some people might say, well, he goes kayaking every weekend, and I do this every weekend, and we're happy. As long as they're coming together other times of the week, if they're coming together for dinners, if they see each other in the morning for coffee, if there's an intimate connection, are they saying, I love you? Are they saying, have a great day? Sometimes, most of the time, my husband goes to work way before I'm out of the house, and he'll text me often, which is so cute. He'll send me a quick little text when he's even on the road. I know he's not texting on the road. He's hopefully speaking into his phone. But he will text me a little while after leaving the house, and he'll say, I love you. Or he'll say, I'm praying for you to have a wonderful day. That means the world. That's a connection. So, yeah, he was kind enough to not wake me up at 6 in the morning, although I usually hear him get out of bed and I hear him showering. But it's small, loving acts of kindness. So even
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
For the best in curious entertainment, you have to check out New England Curiosities, located in the historic city of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. New England Curiosities offers tales and tours of folklore, ghosts, and mysterious history, with author and historian Roxy Zwicker, New Hampshire's longest-running and original ghost tour. Roxy has been entertaining the locals, visitors from away, and curious souls since 1994. New England Curiosities has been offering tours and special haunted events since 2002. Highly respected and thoroughly entertaining. You'll be talking about your experience for months to come. Discover why New England Curiosities is consistently on top of travel and tourism lists. Yankee Magazine calls the Shadows and Stones Graveyard Tour one of New England's top 5 cemetery tours. The Boston Globe says an experience with New England Curiosities is one of the 3 best alternatives to visiting Salem, Massachusetts. From scenic trolley rides to walking tours and speaking engagements, there's something for everyone. So join New England Curiosities and experience why they are consistently featured in the media, including television appearances on the History Channel and the Travel Channel. Check out the latest legendary tours and events from New England Curiosities at newenglandcuriosities.com. And be sure to like New England Curiosities on Facebook.
Okay, we are back on Make Up or Break Up here. Oh, I got a mic that's working again. Okay, good.
all right, I've got people texting me because they're big babies and they don't want to call in.
They don't want to call in? 978-659-0072 if you want to call in.
That's right. And if they're watching it on Facebook, can't they just post something?
They can post something
Yeah.
right on
So
Facebook. I
Yes.
guess the question was, how many good couples are there? And,
Right.
And again, I think it goes back to definition of terms, right? What's a good couple? Because there
Well-
are couples who bicker and...
A good couple to me would mean how many happy couples are there?
Yeah, okay.
All right? So there's a difference. I mean, how many couples are there that are, so again, we don't know what the number is because there's a...
See, maybe I'm just a romantic again, but I've often expressed this. I never believed in the honeymoon phase. I mean, I know there is a honeymoon phase, but I don't think that has to be... I don't think that has to wane. I think...
Lou?
Yeah? No?
What do you mean there's no honeymoon phase?
Well, it exists, but I don't think it has to stop.
Oh, wow. Okay. What'd you call yourself at the beginning of the statement?
I'm a romantic, yes. I'm a romantic, yeah.
Okay. So, my motto on relationships and love is, and people always are like, what's the end? There is no end. Okay. Love is easy when it's easy.
Yep.
So, it's like anything. At the beginning, your car is fine, nothing's wrong. You don't need an oil change when I take it off the lot, hopefully. You don't need a new tire, hopefully. Cars, houses, everything that is in life, your house plants, everything needs maintenance. and at
sure.
a certain point,
Absolutely.
there could be a problem. So for example, so let's look at gardening. That's it comes to mind when I think about plants. So in my garden this year, something that I've read about, but we never had, we've got this beautiful tall yellow flower, and I forget what it's called. It's not coreopsis. I don't think it is, but it's really tall. It's like, I'm not kidding, it's like almost taller than me now. Mm-hmm. And it's this great big, like all these wonderful stems and these beautiful yellow flowers, kind of like a daisy, but they're yellow. And over the last couple of years, I would be able to pick them. They're great picking flowers, and I would be able to bring them into the house. Well, this year we've got these little tiny red bugs on them. They're not damaging. They don't eat the leaves or anything, but the only way to get them off is rain or like hose them off. But the reality is they're alive, so they're going to come right back up onto the stems. So after a really big rain, they come off. But again, there's other things that we need to do to take care of our plants. We need to cut them back, like you need to deadhead them.
Right.
So you have to get rid of certain things so that you get more bloom. So with a relationship, it's the same thing. So you're right. You're wrong and you're right. You're wrong that you can sustain a honeymoon phase, because a honeymoon phase is the excitement of the unknown. Part of what is happening is that you don't know the bad things yet. So by definition, the honeymoon phase is this idyllic, time frame where, like, I've dated you 6 times, we laugh and we have 3-hour dates at nice restaurants, or we go up to Plum Island, or we go to we go down to Cape Cod maybe, and we walk around, and you say to me, hey, I know you like seashells, let's get seashells, that would be really cool, I know a beach. So I'm in La La Land, you're in La La Land, you're trying to do nice things for me. Hopefully it's not a one-way street, and you're seeing that maybe I don't take you to the Cape, but that I'm doing things for you. So a two-way relationship, again, just to be clear, is not you doing lots of things for me, right? It's not you doing lots of things for me, even in the honeymoon phase, but it's me and you feeling like, wow, this is great. This could be my ever after. I should be doing things for you. So the problem is, after the honeymoon phase, we start to see, like, no offense, we get in the car, we've been at the beach all day, walking, and you take your sneakers off.
Yeah.
Big alarm. You've got smelly feet.
Yeah.
I take a phone call from my mother, and you hear me yelling at my mom. Yeah. We go, like, say we started dating now, and Thanksgiving comes around, and I'm like, hey, Lou, do you want to come to Thanksgiving? Like, we're in Andover or whatever. We're in Methuen. My aunt has a house in Lawrence. She has a great big gathering. I think you'd find it really fun. Well, you get there, and you don't think it's fun. You see 2 people bickering. You see this person slamming a door because she's the drama queen in the family.
Right.
And now you're starting, this is where the due diligence comes in. Now you're seeing my family of origin, which is not to say you're going to break up with me, but now over time the reality is coming in, and also, you're probably not dating as fast and furiously because, the reality is, like, work, you've got work commitments.
You're hitting on a key point, though. The key point being the ability to hold 2 ideas in your head at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's like, I really like this person, but I don't like that. We got to work on that, but I really like this person.
Right. So I
think that's the key to it.
So there
are going to be, there's always problems, there's always conflicts, there's always friction, but the ability to, fix that and look past it.
It's not the ability to fix it, it's the ability to see how you guys work together to not necessarily fix something, but to solve a problem, or to agree to not agree. There are going to be, the reality is that a perfect relationship has areas that they don't necessarily agree in. I know a couple of couples who will remain nameless, who claim they've never had a fight, that they've got this wonderful husband, this wonderful wife, they've never had a fight. My feeling is,
means they're both passive-aggressive.
Well, what I've seen is that one is a stronger entity in the marriage, and the other person is, in this one particular couple I'm thinking of, the husband is a lot younger, and he's also very submissive. Like, if the wife says, I want to go look at antique shops today, maybe he had thought he would read a book and sit in the hammock. But he does it. It's not like he hates antiquing.
Yeah, but it's conflict avoidance.
But conflict avoidance.
Yeah.
Right. So I think
if there hasn't been a fight, one partner or the other is avoiding conflict.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
and again, fight, define your terms. I mean,
right, define your
I don't mean a
terms.
screaming match or anything like
Right.
that, but just a disagreement.
Right. So one of the things that we've talked about in the show, and this is so funny because this is not at all what I was going to talk about, but that's why I love doing the show with you, Lou. It's great. Remember how in the past we've talked about a book called The 5 Love Languages?
Yes.
And that is an eye-opener for couples when they hit the road, when they're not seeing as much going on like they did in the honeymoon phase. So you can't recreate the honeymoon phase, but you can continue to infuse love and creativity and excitement. And I call it, really, passion with a purpose. So we all get lazy. I mean, how many of us have had a job where, like, yeah, I could write a 5-page report, but you know what? Nobody's even reading it. It's good stuff, but forget it. I'm just going to do what John does, and John puts together a paragraph. So why am I writing 5 pages? And I'm not saying that that's lazy, but we all get lazy. It's like, why am I mowing the whole lawn when nobody even wants to walk out here? Mm-hmm. Like, why don't I just put wildflowers out here? Even today, I was like trying to get here, and I'm like, make the bed, don't make the bed, make the bed, don't make the bed. And on the third time, when I was about to say it again in my head, I'm like standing there in front of the bed, literally going, make it, don't. I'm like, this is a perfect day to change the sheets, and I don't have time to do that and make the bed again. So I am not making the bed because I'm changing the sheets later tonight.
That's called rationalization.
Right. So I'm like, that's why it's not made. And I did feel a little bit guilty about that because it's a pet peeve of mine, and then I'm the guilty one that today isn't doing it. So, and my husband's been really good about doing it. Again, we talk about divorceable issues, right? Is that a divorceable offensive item? No, but we all know that the things that can really undermine a good relationship are the little things that are floating around under here, right?
Right.
It's not usually honestly, over time, yes, there could be an affair, which is a big blow up here.
Sure.
But underlying things like, oh my gosh, right? Like all these little things, like, why do you always have to go in and take an hour in the grocery store? Like, we all know this can be done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
All these little things can be so annoying. But again...
But it all comes down to that single question of what's more important, the issue of the relationship.
Exactly.
And if you're annoyed to the point about being in a grocery store too long, what's more important, the issue of the relationship?
Right.
Listen, at some point, snow on the roof, it all accumulates and the issues become more important than the relationship. But
it does.
That's something you need to examine on all these little things. Again, affairs are different deals and...
Exactly. And so one of the things...
Abuse and affairs and all that's all different deals.
Right. So, again, one of the things that we're talking about today is a relationship makes the assumption that two people are getting married and they're interrelating. Relationship. Okay, forget the ship part. Relation. That's what we're talking about. A man and a woman. Well, at least that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, you can take it wherever you want. I'm not going to sit here and say a dog and a cat, a dog and a dog, a man and a man, a woman and a woman, a kid and a kid, a teenager and a teenager. Okay, two people are interrelating, and the honeymoon phase is a real thing.
Sure.
There's this excitement when you meet somebody new and you have hope. Because at the end of the day, a lot of us, not everybody, most of us are wired to want and almost need, in a positive way, another person to relate to and to share life with.
Right.
There are people that don't have that desire, which is only a good thing when they recognize it and they don't force themselves into a marriage. Mm-hmm. If you don't want kids, do not get married and have kids. If you do not love being with somebody every night, do not get married and do not be living with somebody. I mean, it's as simple as that, But I do like your point about the honeymoon phase. What happens is once we get past it and we get a little bit lazy, it's very important for sustaining a positive relationship to go deeper and to be more intentional. So it's passion with a purpose. At the beginning, it just sort of happens. There's literally a chemical thing going up and down and endorphins, and you're feeling this attraction and your eyes are kind of, you've got the clouded...
Yep.
The glasses are kind of, you're not really seeing everything. But when you are in a committed relationship, like what you're talking about with the honeymoon phase, it sounds so goofy, but if you know someone's love language, so for me, we've talked about this, like, acts of service
mm-hmm.
are really important to me. Do I love getting flowers? an occasional gift, absolutely. I mean, but I already get those on, special holidays. Like my husband's not bringing home flowers randomly, right? Which is fine. But he knows I like flowers, and I will get flowers certain times of the year. He knows I like a certain perfume. He is hilarious. Like, he always, and I'm like, go for it. Because honestly, like, my ex-husband used to like buy whatever perfume he liked, and I thought, it turned out that I liked them, but it was odd.
Yeah.
I find it very odd when a guy just like picks a perfume that he likes, because it's like,
that's a self-gift.
It's a self-gift, and when you open it, you're sitting there getting really nervous, like, not on my shelf, hope I like it.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Because I can't stand the ones that are, there are some that are very super sweet. So for women that are watching this, you probably have smelled all the Ralph Lauren perfumes. Not my style at all. I like earthy tones, not a musk, but I like, one of my favorite ones is actually kind of interesting. It's like Earl Grey and cucumber.
Really?
Yeah. It's by a woman out of London, Jo Malone.
That's
J-O.
a perfume, Earl Grey and cucumber.
Yeah, she has colognes and she has perfumes. Yep. And she's got some that are
bergamot.
Yep.
Bergamot oil.
Some have bergamot in them. Right, the bergamot is in the Earl Grey. Mm-hmm. So it has that. It's a really cool scent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So her stuff is plant-based. So like, she's got a rose one. She's got actually 2 different types of roses. There's apparently these like deep black roses. So that's kind of a heavier one, but he knows that that's what I like, and I keep telling him, don't buy me the big one, because I don't want one that lasts for 5 years. I'd rather have like 2 skinny ones that are different ones.
Right.
My favorite one was nutmeg. I forget what, nutmeg and something, and they don't make that one anymore. And that was really, it sounds weird, but it was really nice. It sounds weird, I know.
No.
It might have been ginger nutmeg.
I'm a guy, so I have
It might have been
problems
ginger
with
and
all of this,
nutmeg.
but yeah.
Ginger's become a really popular one. Like, what's the name of that place? The Body Shop, which used to be kind of a really cool, small, boutique-y, upscale. It went international. They're at airports now a lot.
Okay.
But they kind of like paved the way with ginger things. They have a really cool like ginger spray.
Yep.
There's another one. It's having a brain freeze. But anyway, just
gifts
knowing,
aren't a big thing for you. Acts of service are more your love language. Yeah.
Acts of service. I mean, yeah, if I never got gifts, if I wasn't recognized at my birthday, I'd be a little bit miffed. I do like a birthday. I'm not gonna lie. It's birthday month.
This isn't zero sum. I mean, there's just certain love languages that are more important to you that hit a little harder.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing is, so another one of the love languages.
Me, it's time.
For time, right? Spending time with the person. The other one that a lot of people have is, and
oftentimes, by the way, just the act of prioritizing that time. Mm-hmm. It's not even so much what you do or anything. Right. It's just like you went out of your way to make sure that we had time. That's important to me.
Right. Time is really important. And I think that especially in this busy life, right, where men and women are working, kids are in daycare for, lots of hours usually, which I'm not dinging it. I think that, believe me, kids that go to daycare can be extremely social, well-adapted to different personalities because they're in these personalities.
It's a reality of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
whatever you think of it, it's a reality.
Right. Well, I think there's a lot of pros to it myself. Yeah. I think it makes kids resilient. I think that kids desire... a 5-year-old desires friendships. A 6-year-old and an 8-year-old desire friendships. Mm-hmm. They desire interaction. Who doesn't want to,
quelling separation, anxiety, socialization. Mm-hmm. This is all.
There's so many great things about it.
Interacting with a number of different people.
Right.
And working those relationships out. Those more surface relationships out. Being able to swim in those waters. Those are all beneficial.
Yeah. So I think, the key is not to go off topic, but with daycare situations, obviously, like anything, like your schools and anything else, you have to pick the one that's good. You have to be on top of it. You have to be monitoring it, make sure that, like, are the teachers really kind? Are they really doing what they say they're doing? Are they putting the kids down for a 2-hour nap instead of like a half an hour, Which is why people have nanny cams now, because you hire someone and it's like, oh my gosh, like, I wouldn't have known that they had little Billy in a crib for 2.5 hours and were talking on their cell phone the whole time. Anyway, so the love languages. The other one is, it sounds obvious, but it isn't. Like, for me, it's not what you're going to picture. So one of the love languages is touch, right? So intimacy, touch.
Right.
But touch can be lots of different things. When, when my husband gives me a kiss in the morning goodbye, it's not this great big 20-minute makeout scene, for God's sakes, but it is a heartfelt, I'm giving you a kiss goodbye. Yep. Sometimes we don't have time. Sometimes he leaves way earlier. And every time it happens, I actually do feel this incredible connection. It's not this crazy, right. 3-day event at a hotel or something in a hotel room. It's the constant, it's an affirmation of, you matter. I'm going to go the extra mile, not just going to yell up the hall, up the stairway and say goodbye.
Right.
I'm going to intentionally come over. I'm just going to give you a quick kiss. I know you're trying to sleep, or a quick kiss. I know you're trying to get your coffee and get out too. The other thing is that for me, the power of touch is holding hands. It's the goofiest thing.
I'm a hand holder.
And whenever I see a couple, especially, actually, even more, the older they are, I sit there and I go, that hand holding is the key to that success right there.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you were to look at a bunch of couples and say they're all like say you were in Boston and you were...
Yeah, which brings me back to the question, how many couples do you see hand holding these days?
Right, not that many.
Yeah.
No, because they're all holding their cell phones.
Yeah.
They're all holding their cell phones, looking at their text messages.
Hand holding in the car, or you're sitting on the couch and her legs are draped across you, that kind of touch. Just kind of,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And the funny thing is, if you go to a restaurant, everybody's sitting there on a date looking at their cell phones. They're not putting them away. Why can't you put your cell phone away for 2 hours?
Yeah.
Why can't you sit at a bar and have your crab rangoons and your chicken wings and your Mai Tais together, looking at each other with the bar stools facing each other? It's okay if you're watching a TV, if you both like hockey or whatever's on, but for goodness sakes, get off your cell phone for the 2-hour date.
Get a girl who likes hockey. She's the keeper. No, it's too much pressure.
Right.
People can't handle that intense contact right now.
But don't you see that?
Because they haven't been brought up with it. Sure. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. People in our age group, it's less so.
With what?
With cell phones and things like that.
I don't know. I see everybody my age on their cell phones.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm on them too, but I can put them down for dinner. I can do that.
Right. Well, that's the other thing too. Is I noticed a lot of times, my son will have it right next to him at the dinner table. I'm like, really? Seriously, just tell me what could be so urgent in a half-hour dinner. I'm not kidding. What could it be? If it's your grandmother, she's going to be calling me, not you.
Yeah, my daughters have the pact. My daughter and her friends has the pact. They throw the cell phones in the middle of the table at the start of dinner when they're out, and it's nobody touches the cell phones.
Right.
Yeah.
So in answer to your question with our age, so I'm in a business group, as you know, with Jeff Shank, our financial guy. That is he on Mondays still?
He's on Mondays at 10. Yes.
Yeah. So Jeff Shank has his.
Well, actually, on Facebook Live, it's Monday at 9. On the NETalks.net, it's Monday at 10.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't mine both at 10?
Yeah, you're live to both places.
Because I'm cooler. Yeah.
Well, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So Jeff and I belong to a business organization, business group that business owners, typically individual business owners or small business people belong to. And we meet in Andover.
By the way, the reason for that is regulations.
What?
Financial shows have to kind of be approved.
Oh, okay, so they have a delay, yeah. So Jeff and I belong to a great business organization. We meet, our particular chapter meets Thursday mornings in Andover. And most of the people, there are a few people in their 30s, but most of the people I would venture out to say are 40s, 50s, 60s. And they've been doing their business for a number of years. We have this fantastic physical therapist in North Andover. If anybody's looking for PT, let me know. If you can get to PT, let me know, because she's in North Andover on 114, and she's phenomenal. Everybody that goes there is loving her. But even in that meeting, and we're all professionals, right? We're not a bunch of 20-year-olds or whatever that are in college where that's what they do. They're Facebook, blah, 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 right? And there are people sitting there during the meeting reading an email or something. And so now, because I'm the president of the group this year, over the last 2 months, I'm when I have to make an announcement, which is the norm, okay, we're going to start the meeting. Thank you for coming to the meeting. Please turn off your cell phones and any electronic devices, which makes me laugh because I'm turn off your pacemaker? I don't even know what the other... But there could be somebody sitting there with a laptop. I don't know.
Sure.
Are you really using it to take notes? Probably not. So now what I say is, I don't just say please turn off your cell phones. I say please put your cell phones on vibrate. put them face down and push them in front of you on your table.
Mm-hmm.
If it starts to vibrate and it continues, not once, meaning you got a text message, if it continues to vibrate, you have a phone call. If you absolutely have to see who it is, take your phone. Do not look at it in front of us. Take your phone, leave the room. You can go stage right or stage left. There are 2 ways to get out of this room, and there are rooms and stairwells you can go talk in.
Yep.
Or take it outside. We're 1 minute from the outside door. It's so annoying.
Yep.
It's my pet peeve. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the president of this group, and that's my pet peeve for the entire year. That, and, you know, some people fine with getting referrals within the group, but not giving referrals out, which defeats the purpose of being, you know, it's giver's gain. It's not taker's take.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, isn't that a great life lesson?
Well, think of it, that what you're talking about the phones with a couple, that's time, isn't it? I mean,
well,
how much of your time are you actually giving me if you're still connected to outside?
Right.
And, you know, listen, life is life. You know, if you're working for a living, chances are you have to be in contact to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, 7 or 8 o'clock at night, you're having a dinner somewhere, you can put the phones down for an hour.
Right.
So.
And the other thing that we've talked about, Lou, in the past is intention.
And by the way, if that's a struggle, that's a problem.
To do what? To
if
put your
it's a
phone
struggle
away
to get your partner to put the phone away, that's a problem.
It is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're questioning,
because I'm the other way. I'm with my partner. It's like, you know, just leave me alone. I'm here now.
Yeah. If you're questioning, like, why your relationship isn't working, I never really thought about that. I'll have to remember that in my practice. Coach Judith, life coach, if you're having problems in your relationship.
The phone or the relationship? That question is being asked all the time in your relationship. What's more important, the issue or the relationship?
You know, this is fantastic because I hadn't even really thought about that. That's not even a question I ask somebody who's, you know, when I'm working with, I don't work with couples. I work with a husband who wants to fix his marriage, or I work with a wife that wants to help her marriage. And I meet with them weekly or bi-weekly, and I send them back in with tips and tricks, things to do. But it's funny, I've never really said, when I'm instructing you to have dinner together, make sure your phones are not even on the table. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
The phone thing.
Yep.
I mean, go out to like your favorite pizza place or something, and you'll see. I bet.
Again, I'm the romantic, but the relationship should be safe harbor. That's the place where you get away from all the people trying to get you by phone. And listen, my kids, you know, I want to know if my kids are trying to get in touch with me. That, you know, there are certain things that are important, but you know,
Well, so the way I look at it is when it's an emergency, typically, so say your daughter had an emergency, she'd probably call you, not text you.
Oh, she has instructions. They have instructions.
Right.
Just repeated calling. Just keep calling.
But it's so funny that you said that's the instruction, because I've never given that instruction. But there have been times where, like,
because I might ignore the first.
Me too.
I'll ignore the phone call. I'll ignore the text. But if it's something important, keep coming at me.
Right.
I'll understand that someone's trying to get in touch with me.
Right. So sometimes if I hear like ding, and I'm like, oh, it's a text. I'll read it later. But then I hear like ding, ding. I'm like, could be important. All I do is push my button and I go, nope.
Yep.
I'll look at them all later. It's from a friend, and she just had something to say, which is great. Or, like you said, like if my phone is like, so you're getting a phone call, I don't look at it. And it's funny, it drives my husband crazy because he doesn't even look at it. He picks up every phone call.
Oh, really?
He's in sales, but my feeling is even though you're in sales, at 8:30 at night, people are calling assuming, like, their plan is, I'm going to leave him a message so when he gets back to the office tomorrow. They're not even expecting him to answer.
I have 300 minutes on my plan. I have never used half of it.
Exactly.
The only people I talk to on the phone are my daughter and my son, and that's it.
Exactly.
For the most part.
Right. So phones are a big distractor. Yeah. But, again, I like...
My answering machine message should be, are you kidding me? Text me.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a problem, hang up and call again.
Yeah, no, don't call again. Text. I'm not picking up the phone.
Exactly. No, because then you don't know what it is. Yeah. So if you briefly look at the text, you're like, yeah, I'll show you where the towels are later. I don't know. Just use any towel. I don't care if you use a beach towel or not. You know, it's like, it's not important. But yeah, again, so getting back to like your question about the honeymoon phase, and how many couples
how many good couples are
how many good couples are there? I don't know, but I would venture to say many people are in status quo, right?
Yeah.
You're not like this anymore.
Yeah.
You're not really, really low. You're just doing it. You're just doing life. And those are the people that snap when they empty nest. When it becomes an empty nester situation, they're just like, you know what? This is just... Because this, even if I did this to you for 5 minutes, it's boring.
Yep.
There's nothing exciting. this implies something, whether it's healthy excitement or it's negative.
Yeah.
I'll
use the word passion.
Passion.
If there's passion, if that's going on, I was told at one point, when the woman stops fighting, that's when it's over. And it's like, that's kind of true. When you stop fighting, it's over.
Right. When you stop speaking up.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of people feel like, and I understand it, what happens is over time, we don't feel like we're being listened to because we're probably not. Mm-hmm. I always say to my clients, I'm like, I'm going to make the assumption, like right off the bat, in the first or second meeting, I say, I want to hear your story, but I'm going to tell you right now up front, I'm going to make the assumption that you have tried to work on this marriage. Yep. I am going to make the assumption that you may or may not want to continue trying, and I'm assuming that this is only one of two ways. How can I fix my marriage and stay in it, or how can I get out of it in a positive way that I don't feel like broken, that I'm not so fearful.
Right.
Because the fact that you are married, you're here for one of two reasons, and I think I like to validate with everybody. I know I shouldn't say that, 99.99999% of people, if we really looked back, even if they think it's my fault, I didn't do anything, I should have spoken up, it's like, I am sure that back at the beginning, it could have been a long time ago. Everyone's tried at some point. And sometimes you only have to be shut down twice to say, never going to get on that topic again. Yep. I'm never going to suggest a different type of vacation. I'm never going to suggest that we sell our house, even though I can tell that we cannot afford it on one income. I'm not getting anywhere. Right. I'm not doing it. I'm not putting my neck out.
Is there a point where you're not being heard? So you're
not being heard.
Yeah.
Right. And then how do I get out of it?
Especially if you don't love conflict, because you don't enter into the conflict, a non-productive conflict. And once you feel the conflict's non-productive.
Right.
Or even worse, as I said before, it ends up being your fault.
Right.
Every time you bring up an issue, it's turned around on you.
Right. So with my clients, when I'm coaching them, I'm usually trying to bring them out and say, let's just have this honest reality check. I'm like your mother, but I'm not. I care about you like your mom, but actually in a better way, because I'll say things to you that your mom just doesn't want to say because she doesn't want to hurt your feelings.
Mom's going to support you.
Right. Your mom's going to support you, hopefully. Or you've got a critical mom. I'm not going to be that. I'm not critical.
Right.
I'm just giving you some factual ideas. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of people are staying in this relationship, like you said, like, how many are good relationships, meaning to me, how many are really happy? And what I tell people is, honestly, change can be difficult. It is different, right? Going from a house to an apartment, perhaps. Like, you're not going to be able to, after a divorce in particular, depending on the financials, you may not be able to go buy another house. You may have to live in a small apartment or whatever, right? But at the same time, what I'm working on with my clients is trying to show them, would you like your glass to be half full? Because right now in your unhappiness, your glass is half empty.
Right.
So at the minimum, let's take your half a glass and start to increase it a little bit so that it's a little more full. And those things are going to be positive things that make you happy, things that are all about you, right? Mm-hmm. So even if you're staying in the marriage, you need to work on you. You need to be happy before you can fix the two of you.
Right. And
hopefully down the road, at some point, you can get Mr. Wonderful or Mrs. Wonderful. Your spouse has to work on themselves too. It's never going to work. It's never going to be a good relationship if you're the only person putting the energy in and the other person isn't doing anything, right? So when they say, like, it takes two, it's really true. So one of the things I want to do instead of what I was going to do, I had three things I was going to do today. And
I talked you out of them.
No, but it doesn't matter because I love the topic that we had today about, how many couples are really happy. And when you were listening...
Does it exist? I guess is the basis of the question.
But when you were listening to Lou and I talking about this, or Lou and me, I guess, when you were listening to Lou, when you were listening to me, I challenge all our viewers to ask themselves, am I happy? Am I happy? And if you're not, really analyze, is it me or is it things that are going on between me and my spouse, the person that I'm with?
Right.
The other thing is, if you're single and dating, ask yourself, am I happy? And don't say, I'm not happy because I'm not meeting a great person. Forget who you're not dating or who you're dating, whatever. Like, I can't find the right person, whatever. The first question to say is, am I happy in my oneness. And if I'm not, what can I do to make myself happy? Because what I always tell people, and we teach it in the divorce care program, one of the main lessons with relationships is, you are ready to date, you are ready to start finding Mr. or Mrs. Right, your partner in life, when you don't need it. Mm-hmm. And that means you're not lonely sitting at home on a Friday night.
Right.
If you're sad about it, if it makes you feel crappy, if you can't think of anything to do but get a clicker and turn on the television, you're not going to be a good partner. Who wants to date you? Like, this is what I tell people in divorce care. I'm like, if you're thinking of dating right now, look in the mirror. You're not dateable. If you're in a support group, you're not a dateable person. You're in the support group because you have a problem with processing your current divorce, or you had a divorce 10 or 20 years ago and you're still in a lot of pain. If you're still sad, you need to work on that, because it's not fair to somebody out there that when you hide that sadness, this poor person's going to start dating you and they might even marry you. And now they're with this sad person. Everybody wants to be with a person that's healthy and whole. Mm-hmm. So segueing into this wonderful program, it's a 13-week program. I'm running it in Marblehead all summer into early September. You can join it anytime. The Marblehead program, we're on week 6, but it's such a great program with different topics every week. That's why you can join it anytime. So this meets tonight. This is Tuesday nights. Divorce Care. It's in Marblehead. Send me a message or go to judithjameson.org. Send me an email off of my website. I'll tell you where it is and when it is, but it's Tuesday nights in Marblehead. It's for men and women. Each week is a different topic. And I'm also co-leading it in Andover, and that meets on Thursday nights. That one's not as far along. That one's going into like the end of September, I think. We're only on week 3 this week, which is the topic of anger. Mm-hmm. We've already done that in the Marblehead one, but I also meet people early, like at 6 o'clock, to watch the video from the previous week.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. And this program is designed to help people process their breakups. So it's for people that have come out of a long-term relationship, or they're coming out of a marriage, or they had a long-term relationship and they don't feel happy and like they still feel sad, or they still feel mad about it, or they're just frustrated. So it's during the breakup or after a breakup, helping to process it. And it can be a long-term relationship or it can be a marriage.
I love the fact that it's not sequenced, that you don't have to have seen the previous classes. You can just join in at any point.
Nope. So like in Andover.
They're all self-contained.
Yeah, right. So like in Andover, they're all self-contained. So in Andover tonight, we're talking about the topic of anger. It would be weird to be going through a divorce and not be angry. It would be weird to have had a really difficult relationship and 5 years later, you're perfectly happy. When you get on that topic and you still feel angry, that's normal. But we teach people, we show people through this video, which is therapists and people like me being interviewed, things I did that were bad when I was angry. And then there's people like me being interviewed, what were some positive things that we did. And so you're hearing from professionals as well as people who went through it. And then they talk about healthy ways to process. Like, it's okay to be angry. It's just what you do with it.
Right.
So it's okay to be really angry. It's okay to like yell at someone. It's not okay to touch someone. It's not okay to push somebody. It's not okay to take a brick and throw it through a window. It's just not okay. There are legal ramifications for that.
That's right.
And one of the things I like, spoiler alert, about the video on anger, which is tonight in Andover Center, what I like about that is that one of the professionals, one of the counselors says, anger is normal because anger says, I'm not being heard, and that's why I have to yell. I'm speaking loudly because I don't think you've heard me the first time.
Right.
You're not thinking it to yourself. You're not going, well, I'm going to yell this time because they're not listening.
No.
But you raise your voice because you're trying to be heard.
Right.
And
because you think you're important enough that what you are saying needs to be heard.
Right. So the real thing is to step back and say, why am I yelling? Why am I so angry? Why am I not being heard? Think about that. Because it happens, but then sometimes if you step back, like this is something I learned with kids. If you whisper to a kid instead of screaming at them, they'll sit there like this. They're trying to listen. So that's why when they talk about it's hard, like it's okay to yell and it's, you know, it's human. But when you go back to that spouse or that person that you're with, the reason why we're saying do it with a calmer, right? And even maybe apologize for blowing it. To say, I'm so sorry, I just like exploded. Like
the message gets lost in the yelling. It's not effective.
Right.
Yeah.
You've diffused your second attempt to have that conversation, right? And it's forcing yourself to have some, what's it called?
Control. Yeah.
Yeah. So I loved today's program on talking about happy relationships, how to make it happier, and how to realize whether or not you are in a happy relationship.
All right. We'll be back next week.
I can't wait till next week. Great. Have a great week, everybody.